So again, I want to apologize. This video is being done in the echoey room because again, the acoustics are not up yet. IKEA is taking forever to restock some other items. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a longer video than normal, so sorry about that, but this is a knockoff, upscaled gravity builder. A knockoff of a third-party toy. Geez, how deep does this rabbit hole go? So I figured we would just start with my favorite and work our way down the list, go over the group as a whole, the vehicles as a whole, and then combine them into awesome. Bonecrusher is my favorite. He's always been my favorite, and this figure is the one I've had the most fun with. I love the way they do the shovel thing being on the arms. It just, opposed to the chest, I just think it looks neat. It's a really interesting design change that they went with. So pairing it with a specific collection, if you're that type of collector, might be a tough sell on all of them, but he still looks really cool regardless. He has trouble holding his gun. I mean, all of them do. They all kind of fiddle with that, and it's a bit annoying, not gonna lie. Posing is your typical fare. The ankles are a tad wonky when they comes to posing, just due to the way they transform. But as a whole, the thing is really cool. And I would keep in mind, every single angle on all of these toys is sharp, so you want to be careful when handling it. Handling it sometimes can hurt, especially with the tight ratchets these guys have. Hook is nice. I really like how this looks. If some of the panels lined up nicer and the hook could stay on his back without making the figure feel awkward when he was standing, then he would beat Bonecrusher, but I have to remove the hook, otherwise he just falls over. There's a lot more sculpted detail on this guy, and it looks super nice. I love the asymmetry of the legs and the little shoulder wing pieces. However, there is a massive stress mark on the front, which is partially my fault, but also partially the instructions' fault for being just straight up terrible. So, yeah. His posing's pretty okay. The arms feel a little weird and rattly, but they're not too bad. The rest of the figure feels fine and sturdy, which is super nice to see on a knockoff. The hips are way too tight, so I would grab them closer to the hip piece to bend them, as opposed to like down closer to the knee, because otherwise you will snap the mushroom peg right off. Scavenger is my next favorite figure. It's probably the cleanest, apart from the arm on the back. My figure's abdomen also has trouble staying together. However, the weight of the digger arm thing on the back holds it in place and it becomes a non-issue. The robot mode though here feels super nice and looks really good, like in person. Photos in this video too don't really do it justice. It's really nice in person. I like this one a lot, and if it weren't for some minor design things like the shoulders, it would be my number one. Posing on this is legit the exact same as Bonecrusher, especially in the bottom half, because they are the exact same figure at the bottom half. But it's still fun nonetheless, and I really, really like it. Scrapper is where my problems start to form in this set. The only issue that I have with this guy, like the only major issue, is the legs. The way that the port is designed, the front panels don't really solidly tab in, so they like to come off every now and again, and they're attached to the feet, so he falls over a lot. I also feel like the arms look a little too busy personally, and the sideways elbow action kind of unpegs a lot, but that's just, again, they do tab in, and the arms is a personal preference. Otherwise, I think it looks fine. It feels very scrapper-y and fits the bill quite well. One thing to mention is that the hips on mine are stupidly tight as well, so you have to be careful with them. Posing on this guy is pretty standard for a figure this size. The fists do like to retract themselves a lot when you're trying to mess with them, so that's something you want to be careful of. But it is really nice to have a fully articulated Scrapper at this scale. I'm looking at you, Combiner Wars Scrapper. That thing was awful. Mixmaster's okay. You can display him with the head thing down or the head thing up, but I prefer this configuration. Reminds me a lot of the toy I have, but it's packed away in a box somewhere. The robot mode looks really nice. I just don't like how the legs look or how they work. Mine have trouble holding together and the feet are stupidly loose. I will end up fixing them after filming this video. I just wanted to get that out of the way, that he's super loose. You will see him fall over a couple times. So yeah. The feet are really loose. They're on ball joints, so you can just thicken them. It's fine. I do like the kibble flaps on the arms. However, I think they're a little too thick, but it does give it that kind of industrial look for construction, and it looks pretty sick. The head is chunky, and it also looks like it could kill you at any moment, like that thing on top of his head. And it's honestly a really cool look having it there, but again, you can always flip it down if you don't like the way it looks. Posing on him is the same as Scrapper, but the lower legs, at least on mine, are a pain in the ass because the feet, like I said, are loose. The panels that they're attached to also don't tab in anywhere, so it's really annoying sometimes. It's just messing with this guy, and the waist joint's so loose, and the ankle tilt for combined mode doesn't tab in, so it's a little bit annoying. Long Haul's my least favorite. He looks okay in robot mode, but I'm not a big fan of this shelf thing that he's got on his back. I feel like an extra hinge could have solved that issue real easily. But that's not Jinbao's fault. That's Generation Toy. I believe it was Generation Toy who made the original. And if that's a problem on the original, then a simple hinge would have solved it. He also doesn't stand very well, but the feet are on ball joints as well, so it's really easy enough to fix. The hips are so tight, because they're the combiner hips, so they have to be super tight. So I understand that, kind of like Combiner Wars Long Haul, but it's still annoying sometimes. That's why when you see him in a pose here, you won't see the legs move because I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to break it. It's so annoying. And the head's kind of flat at the back. I'm not the biggest fan of that. The chest also doesn't tab in on mine, so when you move the hip skirts, it kind of pops up a bit, which is a little annoying. There's a little bit of a clearance issue. Posing is okay. He isn't really a figure you buy to put in that dynamic pose, but the lower legs on mine, like I said, are impossible to move because the ratchets are so tight. But for the combined mode, it is completely necessary. They all look great together though. They are super intimidating and large and imposing, and I like it. I think they look great. I'll put them next to Chug, Studio Series, and an MP figure so you can decide what kind of collection you want to display it with. I didn't have any MPMs on hand, so I couldn't put any of those near here. I'm sorry. But I would say these guys, to me, feel very Chug-ish look at MP scale. It's weird, but that's the vibe they're giving off. The fact that this whole set costs $130 on Surtoys, breaking this thing up, it's about 22 bucks a figure. That is the US dollar price for a deluxe. That's an amazing value for money here. The plastic feels really good overall. It's not the greatest, but it's definitely not the worst I've ever handled. And it can feel flaky in some areas, but in the areas that matter, it's strong and sturdy, so you don't have to worry about things breaking. Joints are a bit hit or miss in some areas, as I've mentioned, but for the most part, they feel really solid. And there's a lot of issues that are fixable, like Warbatron, who I am not disassembling, but you will see a combined mode comparison, don't worry. Transforming them all isn't that bad. I mean, doing it all in one sitting in front of a camera was so tiring, but overall, the experience is mostly pleasant. You can kind of figure out where everything goes first try, so the crappy instructions aren't exactly needed, but MGO had some really good walkthroughs, which is what I used when I was stuck in certain places, so thank you, MGO. The Constructicon vehicles look really good, except for Long Haul. He looks too kibbly for my taste, like the Combiner Wars one. Otherwise, everything looks fantastic to me. They're large, imposing, and in these G2 colors, they look so much like they would in real life. It's so much fun. I'm super happy with how these things turned out. These figures all fit super well together. They don't really scale with anything modern, like any modern vehicles. But who cares? They look sick. Maybe MP stuff, but Long Haul here has a full-on staircase on the front, so he's supposed to be huge. But Bonecrusher's vehicle mode is my absolute favorite. That bulldozer looks awesome. Hook's crane can actually articulate out. It can extend, and the side pylon stability thingies, I don't know what they're called. I don't know construction vehicles. They fold out as well, which is really, really cool. Scavenger's digger looks really, really sick. The arm articulates too, and pistons that fully work. It's so nice. Scrapper's front end loader, I believe it's called, looks really nice, although the hinges on the arm on the front, on the bucket, can get misaligned sometimes, which is kind of annoying. Mixmaster cement truck looks really neat, but I'm not a big fan of how toy-ish the front end looks, and the mixing barrel's cut in half, so that might bother some people. Long haul's dump truck mode, like I said, it's not my favorite. It's here, it's there, it exists. It can't dump anything, you can't put anything in the back. It doesn't look like, if it didn't have that top part, that little shelf bit, it wouldn't look like a dump truck. So I'm not a big fan of how that design looks. But you don't buy this for the individual figures, really. You buy it for the combined form. Oh my god, this thing is huge. Combining it is a bit of a faff, so you're gonna have to be careful with that. I would recommend shaving the ratchets in the knees down a little bit on long haul specifically, so that you can actually move them. So don't shave them down too much, otherwise he'll fall over. The sheer size of this we'll talk about in a sec, but the detail, it all shines here. This thing looks absolutely stunning. The amount of surface detailing on this guy, the sheer volume of things to look at, it's amazing. Also, I know a lot of people in my shorts were like, you have the feet on wrong. And to be honest, I don't really mind either way. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. So the feet might be wrong in a few shots. This is another one of those figures that I cannot stop looking at. It's got such a powerful presence and it looks so damn good. He looks really good next to Chug things, not gonna lie. The combiner itself is too small for MP scale in my eyes. So if you are concerned about scale, then yeah, Chug probably works the best. Oh, and for those who wanted to see it next to Warbotron, it is bigger than Warbotron. Warbotron was big. This guy, I believe it's a similar height to Combiner Wars Devastator, but I sold mine, so I can't show you that. But I think I'm like 98% sure it's like Combiner Wars Devastator, Power of the Primes Predaking-ish scale, if you guys wanted to scale it to any of those combiners. He has light up eyes, but they kind of suck. But hey, they're there if you want. You gotta hold the button down, which is kind of annoying. The head sculpt is perfect for me. It's G1 enough, but also different enough at the same time to make a really nice fusion. Kind of like the Bumblebee movie designs. And oh, I wonder how this would look next to MPM 12 Optimus if Toys R Us would actually stock the damn thing. I swear I've gone like every week and I have not seen it in stores. I'm just waiting for it to show up there because it's cheaper in Canada. That's why I want to get it here as opposed to ordering it. There are missiles in his knuckles, by the way, and he comes packed with missiles in a baggie, but mine were mismolded, so they don't peg into the arms, so it's kind of annoying. The actual posing of this thing isn't bad. The hips are a little limited, and the feet can't really go forward or backwards, but they do have ankle pivot. My Mixmaster's foot section, though, does like to fall apart, as you'll see here in this section, so that is something that you're going to have to be a little bit careful with. The articulated hands are so much better than Warbotron's. They're such a pleasure to like handle and to pose around. They give so much expression to the figure when you put it in any sort of like configuration. They're just super nice to like just to move around and to pose. You can hold things, you can point, you can give you the finger, you can do all that sort of stuff. The ratchets mostly feel better than Warbotron's, and the range of movement is much nicer than Warbotron's with the ball jointed head. And the shoulder extenders, you can extend the shoulders out to move them up, which is really cool. The hands, as I said, they're insane. You can put them in pretty much any way you want. I could talk about these figures' hands the entire video, but I'm not going to do that. He has a gun, and it's fine, but he can also wield his crane arm as a baseball bat, which I think is really cool. Reminds me of Pacific Rim when Gypsy Danger had the boat and was hitting Otachi in the head with it. He just looks great, and I do recommend you get this one. I got it off Sir Toys, like I said. I'll link it and the green version below if I can find the green version. It's always like pretty hard to locate on their website, but I'll link them below if they aren't sold out. I do recommend you pick this up. I apologize in advance if they sell out, like I said, but it is something that's a really good value to have. Even if you just buy it to stand it on your shelf, it's really cool. I would be careful with the NBK version. The NBK version, I've heard, isn't the greatest. It simplifies some of the transformation steps, and the plastic doesn't feel as good as this one, so it's not as stable. So I would be careful with the NBK one. But the Jinbao one, which is what this one is really nice. I'm really happy I got it. I'm glad I snagged it. I was on the fence, but I'm glad I actually decided to pick one up. So I highly recommend you too. If you got a spare $130 just lying around, you can buy this. But that's my look at Gravity Builder. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and come on, my fans hobby naval commander is still stuck in Canadian customs, but that will be here and you will see that. I'm very excited for it. But regular polls to vote on what video is going to come next will be happening this week. So yeah, look forward to seeing that. Anyways, thank you and goodbye.